Chapter 6. The Perilous Path Through the Ruins. The abandoned house reeked of damp wood and forgotten time, its timbers groaning under the weight of neglect. Keven Kung's stomach clenched with a hollow, insistent hunger that made his vision blur. He leaned against a crumbling wall, the rough stone scraping through his thin robe, his fingers tracing the worn leather of his sword hilt, a familiar anchor in the suffocating emptiness. Beside him, Thi Shan, her dark eyes sharp despite the exhaustion shadowing them, carefully divided the last of the dried chestnuts they'd scavenged from a half-rotted barrel. Edris Ni sat cross-legged on the floor, her slender fingers deftly unwrapping a small, paper-wrapped bundle. Inside lay a few crystalline sweetmeats, their sugared surface catching the weak light filtering through a broken window. "Are you certain?" Thi Shan's voice was low, steady, but her knuckles whitened around her share of chestnuts. "The others left these for us. They said they were special." Edris Ni offered the bundle to Keven. "Emmett brought them before he left. Said they would ease the hunger, but warned they were not for consumption. Only for when we needed clarity." Keven's throat tightened. He'd seen the way Emmett had pressed the bundle into Edris's hands, his face pale, his movements stiff with pain. Now, with the house cold and the outside world hostile, the sweet seemed like a cruel jest. His stomach growled, a raw, animal sound. The chestnuts were little more than sawdust. The sweetmeats were small, glistening spheres of pure, impossible sweetness. For a fleeting, shameful moment, Keven imagined crushing one between his teeth, letting the cloying rush wash away the gnawing void. He saw Thi Shan's gaze flicker to the sweets, her own hunger a silent echo of his. Edris Ni's hand trembled slightly as she held the bundle. "Do not," Thi Shan murmured, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "Emmett's gift is not food. It is a warning, or a test." Before Keven could speak, a ragged cough echoed from the corner. Emmett lay on a thin mat, his face ashen, his breathing shallow. He pushed himself up on trembling arms, his eyes fixed on Edris Ni. The sweets," he rasped, his voice thin as spider silk. "Not for eating. Poison. My blood it burns. The 5 poison beads, they are the only cure." The words hung in the stale air. Keven felt the blood drain from his face. "Poison. ... Emmett, who had been their guide, their shield, was poisoned. The 5 poison beads, legendary relics, said to be the heart of the 5 poisonous serpents. Each bead a concentrated essence of a deadly venom. They were said to be guarded by the most treacherous sects, scattered across the most dangerous lands. Where are they?" Keven asked, his voice rough. Emmett closed his eyes, a single bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple. "Though the Shu Mountain, the Shuming, he knows where they lie." His breath hitched, a sign of the poison's grip. I must go, before the poison takes me." He struggled to his feet, swaying, then turned and limped towards the door, disappearing into the gloom of the overgrown garden. Silence descended, heavier than before. Thi Shan's shoulders slumped. Edris Ni carefully placed the sweetmeats back inside their paper wrapping, her hands steady now, her eyes distant. "Hay is running from the poison," she whispered. "Not to the Shu Mountain." Keven's hand clenched into a fist. He needed to move, to find the beads, to save Emmett. But the weight of the house, the crushing hunger, the fear of what lay ahead, it all pressed in. He closed his eyes, seeking the familiar calm of his Qingling magic, the practice that usually brought him focus. He inhaled, drawing the cool, clear energy from the earth, the air, the very stones beneath him. He began the slow, precise movements, the hand seals, the mental pathways opening. But the energy felt wrong, jagged, like shards of ice scraping against his bones. A sharp crack, like splitting jade, echoed in the room, not from the walls, but from within his own chest. He gasped, staggering back. His vision blurred, then sharpened with unnatural claritito, sharp, too bright. He felt his bones shift, lengthen, his skin prickle, and then thicken with coarse, dark fur. His hands twisted, fingers curling into claws that scraped against the stone floor. A low, guttural growl rumbled in his throat, utterly alien. He saw his reflection in a shard of broken pottery, a creature, with eyes like molten amber, muzzle elongated, teeth bared in a snarl. A wolf. Ah, a wolf, with the sharp, dangerous intelligence of a man trapped within. Keven! Thi Shan's voice cut through the primal fog. She stepped forward, her hand hovering near the small knife at her belt, but her gaze was wide with fear, not anger. Edris Ni stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat. The wolf creature in Kevin's mind roared, a desperate, confused cry. He was losing control. The magic was tearing him apart, not guiding him. He tried to push back, to force the human form. But the wolf's instincts were surging, the hunger for blood and the need to flee overwhelming his will. He lunged towards the door, a snarling shadow against the dim light. A soft chime, like a bell made of wind, cut through the chaos. A figure materialized in the doorway, silhouetted against the twilight. He wore robes of deep indigo, the fabric seeming to absorb the fading light, a simple cord holding back his long, silver-streaked hair. His face was calm, etched with lines of deep wisdom, his eyes holding the quiet depth of ancient mountains. The Shu Mountain Immortal Shuming stood there, his presence a silent anchor in the storm. Child. Shuming's voice was a soft murmur, yet it carried through the room, calm and absolute. The storm within you must be calmed, not fought. You are not the wolf. You are the mountain that holds the storm. Keven, caught between the beast and the man, felt the wolfish rage begin to recede, replaced by a profound exhaustion. The immortal stepped forward, his hand raised not in threat, but in gentle invitation. He placed a cool, steady hand on Kevin's shoulder. The contact was like a drop of clear water on parched earth. Let the storm pass. Shuming whispered, "You are not the storm." The world tilted. The coarse fur receded, the sharp claws softened back into fingers, the molten amber eyes dimming to the familiar brown. Keven collapsed to his knees, gasping, the human form returning with a shuddering relief that left him trembling. The wolf's hunger was gone, replaced by a bone-deep weariness. Shuming's hand remained on his shoulder, a steady warmth against the lingering chill. "Thank you," Keven managed, his voice hoarse. Shuming gave a slight nod, his gaze sweeping over the Shan and Edris Ni, acknowledging their presence without words. "The path ahead is treacherous," he said, his voice low. "The underground maze beneath the Shu Mountain is guarded by the spirits of the earth. One misstep, and the stones themselves will crush you. You must move as one, with eyes wide and hearts still." The trio exchanged a single look thick with the shared weight of Emmett's poisoning, Kevin's crisis, and the looming deadly path. They had no choice but to move forward. Shuming stepped aside, gesturing towards the hidden entrance beneath a pile of rubble at the back of the house. The air beyond was cold and damp, smelling of ancient stone and deep earth. They entered the maze. The passage was narrow, the walls slick with moisture, the floor uneven stone. The air was thick, with the scent of damp earth, and something faintly metallic. Keven, his body still trembling slightly from the transformation, led the way, his senses heightened, his mind focused on the path ahead. Thi Shan walked just behind him, her eyes scanning the walls for any sign of pressure plates or hidden mechanisms. Edris Ni brought up the rear, her small pouch of herbs at the ready, her gaze constantly flicking to the shadows. The first layer of traps was subtle. A section of floor, barely visible, shifted under Thi Shan's foot. She froze, her hand darting out to steady Keven. "Pressure plate," she murmured, her voice tight. "To the left, Keven. Step over the third stone." Keven shifted his weight, his foot finding the stable stone just as a hiss of poison gas erupted from a hidden vent above, the acrid smell stinging their eyes. They pressed on, moving with silent, practiced precision. The maze twisted, descending deeper. The second layer was more complex, a series of narrow walkways suspended over a chasm, the stone beneath their feet vibrating with the faint, deep thrum of the mountain itself. A single misstep would send them plummeting into darkness. "Hold hands," Thi Shan said, her voice calm. "One step at a time. Follow my breath." Keven took her hand, his fingers closing around her cool, steady grip. Edris Ni grasped his other hand, her touch gentle but firm. They moved as one unit, their footsteps synchronized, each step a silent prayer. The chasm yawned below, a void of blackness. The stone walkway felt like a thread of life beneath them. They reached the third layer, a vast chamber where the air hummed with energy. The walls were lined with ancient, carved symbols that seemed to shift in the dim light. The path was a series of stepping stones across a shallow, still pool of water. The stones were spaced too far apart to jump, and the water below was dark, reflecting no light. "The stones are enchanted," Edris Ni whispered, her eyes tracing the symbols. "They will shift if we step on the wrong one. The water, it is not water." As if in answer, the air above the pool crackled with sudden energy. A bolt of lightning, impossibly bright in the underground chamber, struck the water's surface with a deafening crack. The chamber was filled with the sharp, clean scent of ozone. The lightning was not natural, it was the storm Shuming had spoken of, arriving with a vengeance. The chamber trembled. The symbols on the walls flared with a soft, blue light. The stepping stones began to shift and slide, the water in the pool bubbling violently. Keven felt the familiar, dangerous pull of the Qingling magic, not as a threat, but as a resonance with the storm above. He didn't fight it this time. He let the energy flow through him, not to control it, but to harmonize with it, as Shuming had taught him. He closed his eyes, focusing on the rhythm of his breath, the pulse of the mountain, the crackling energy of the storm. The storm above was a cleansing force, not a threat. The magic within him wasn't a storm to be tempered, was a current to be understood, a part of the mountain's own song. The shifting stones steadied beneath his feet. The water in the pool calmed, the bubbling ceasing. The symbols on the walls dimmed. The lightning storm outside the mountain's heart was the key. It wasn't a barrier. It was a signal, a cleansing wave that washed away the imbalance within him. The wolfish hunger, the desperate need to flee, all dissolved in the storm's pure, electric clarity. He was no longer the storm, but the mountain that held it. He opened his eyes, the world clear, the path ahead steady. "Thi Shan," Keven said, his voice steady now, the echo of the beast gone. "The stones, they are safe. We move forward." Thi Shan nodded, her hand tightening on his. Edris Ni released a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. They stepped onto the now stable path, the storm above a distant rumble, the path ahead clear, the mountain's heart beating steady beneath their feet. The 5 poison beads awaited, and Emmett's life hung in the balance. They moved forward, together, the mountain's song guiding their steps. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and turn on the bell for updates. More beautiful stories are coming soon on YouTube channel, Many Stories with You.